Hi, everyone. I'm Tao, co-founder of Manus AI, and right now acting as our chief product officer here. And today, I just kind of want to share some background story about how we come up with this idea and what problems we are trying to solve. And because we released this product back in March, and it's already been 6 months is passed. So we also want to highlighting some new updates from our side. So maybe for some of you today in this room may not know what is Manus. First of all, I just want to have some short introduction about what Manus is doing. Manus is kind of maybe the world's first general AI agent. It's not just some other vertical AI agent. We are general one, which means actually we can handle a very long tail of different type of tasks. And it's totally different when you are using Manus. You will see that Manus first, any given task you assign to Manus first will come up with its own plan, and then execute the plan step by step by itself. And then you get the final delivery, the final work. Yeah, it doesn't just give you some answers, but really deliver the work for you. So what problems we're trying to solve is we believe in the past 2.5 years, ChatGPT released 2.5 years ago, and we believe the industry are trying to build the brain. LLMs, they're super smart brain. Yeah, so whenever we are testing some new models, we will ask the model some very tricky questions to test that if they can compete with our humans, right? That's how we test the models for the past 2 years. We always find some tricky and trickier questions for these models. And all the frontier model labs, they are trying to build is a very smart brain. Like for myself, I believe 2 years ago, not 1 year ago, 2 years ago, the LLMs are already smarter than most of the humans. Yeah, but I think that's a conservative way to say that, because actually I believe the LLMs are already smarter than all of us. Because we can always find some questions the LLM can't answer, right? We can always find some questions from physics or math or some programs it can't answer. But us humans, maybe we can find an Einstein to answer the physics questions. But definitely, we can always find some questions even Einstein can't answer. But for being an AI model like AIM, it can answer every vertical questions. So actually, even 2 years ago, we believe the LLMs is already smarter than all of us. But why people still didn't think that this is really a big thing, and we can't adapt this into my existing workflow and my daily life? I think that's because we are only trying to build the brain, but we don't build the hand. And that also creates another problem, which is when you are using chatbot like ChatGPT, what you are trying to do is limiting the true potential of LLMs. Because when you are using a chatbot, your product's value needs an answer to trigger, which is that your users, if your users know what questions they should ask, or what questions they know, what's the following up questions, and then they can get the best from your product. But if your user doesn't know what's the question I should ask, or maybe how should I ask the question in the right way, they can't get the full potential value from the models. So actually, we believe in what we believe is the humans like us, we need hand to interact with the physical world, and then we can make a real impact into the world, but not just the brain. And that's exactly how our product name Manus comes from. Manus is not an English word, it's an old Latin word. It comes from MIT's motto, which is mens et manus, which means man and hand. So we believe these frontier AI model labs, they are trying to build the brain. But our mission is to build the hand for these AI models. And when I say hand, maybe some of you are very curious about what is the hand for AI models? Yeah, so that's the part, actually we believe Manus is very good at. Yeah, model is always good at reasoning. Last year, OpenAI released their O series model. And this year, we have DeepSeek, they're all doing the reasoning. They can do a very long horizon reasoning things. But when things comes to some very simple task, Like maybe use some very simple tools, like maybe browse the internet, or maybe just edit an existing PowerPoint file and give me a new file. These are very simple tools. This is not complex. This is not as hard as like solving some math programs. But the LM just failed on all of these tasks last year, And what we are trying to do is we were thinking about how can we give hints to LMs, then they can use the actual tool to solve our real daily life problems. And this whole idea, it's very interesting. This whole idea just comes from last year, when last in July, Cursor went super viral, right? Last July. Everyone is using Cursor. And we were starting to watch our friends and our colleagues who were long coders. They're long coders, but they are trying to start using Cursor to solve their daily life problems. Like my wife used Cursor to convert a video file to an audio file. And some of my colleagues, they're long coders, but they're using Cursor to do data visualizations with some Python libraries. That's the moment, we noticed that, which is AI coding. Coding is actually the tool for solve universal problems. So at that moment, we decided to start this project, which is that we want to build the right panel of Cursor, Because, long coders, they don't care about the left side of Cursor. Because that's the code editor, nobody cares about that. But we want to build the right panel of Cursor for average users, for everyone, to let them can leverage the power of AI coding to solve their daily lives. And we're also trying to solve the problem with another very powerful technology, which is, when we are watching people use Cursor, the only thing they do is keep pressing the accept button, right? And why Cursor needs you to click the accept button is because it runs on your computer. So it needs your permission to perform some actions, or maybe it will be very dangerous to your computer. But what we were trying to think is that we think we should give AI the real tool, which is the computer, right? Like you can just imagine, if you hire some intern in your company, the first thing you will do is to give him or her a computer, right? It makes no sense that if you hire an intern and you don't give them computers, you just let them to use your computer. It's really weird. So what Manus have done is, in each Manus task, behind the task, we will assign a fully functional virtual machine for the Manus task, which means the AI has its own computer. And that brings a lot of advantages, when we want the AI to have more tools to use. Like the first tool, which is the browser. Because we have a fully functional virtual machine running in the background, which means we have a fully functional browser. It's a real Chromium browser, not like other headless browsers, which means that we can do much more, on that browser. Like in Manus, you can just imagine you have a browser running in the cloud. Then you can just log in to some of your daily routine systems. Like for me, I log in my Twitter and LinkedIn and our recruiting system on Manus. So like every morning, we have a feature we call schedule task. Then I will ask Manus to run a schedule task on a daily basis, which is like every morning 7 a.m. Just go to LinkedIn and Twitter and to find what users are talking about Manus and gather all this information back, make them into a podcast. So like every morning when I do my toothbrush, I can listen to a 5-minute podcast about what people are talking about Manus yesterday. Yeah, that's something Manus can do. And the only thing you assign to Manus is just a very simple sentence, which is just go to Twitter and LinkedIn to find all the feedback about Manus and make them into a podcast on every morning 7 a.m. You can use natural language, and Manus will have its own plan and action plan every day by itself. You don't have to push it with all these following up questions. That's one capability we unlock with the virtual machine, which is the browser. And we also unlock other capabilities with the virtual machine, which is that because we have real computer there, which means that we can use the file system on the virtual machine. And that creates a lot of advantage, for us, because I think today, maybe some of you are building agents. And to the limit of today's technology, which is that the context window is still not enough to deal with a lot of different information. But with a file system, sometimes you can just offload some very heavy information to the file system. And maybe like 2 steps or 20 steps later, when you want to use it again, it's still on the file system. You can retrieve it at any given time. And that creates a lot of advantage for us. So if you use the Manus, you try Manus, you will say sometimes there's going to be some tasks that can lasting for maybe 1 hour or 2 hours with hundreds of different steps, and the Manus is still running without performance reducement. Yeah, so that's kind of something we unlocked with the virtual machine. So these are the things we're trying to build. It's like we let the LLM to have real hands to use. With the hands, they can use tools. And with these tools, the LLMs can have real-time feedback from the physical world. And the LLMs will know, okay, this is the observation after my last decision made. I get some feedback from the physical world, and I can predict what my next action should be. So behind the Manus is just a huge agentic loop. It's just the Manus will predict the next action. The action will be performed in the virtual machine. After the action is performed, there will be an observation return to the context. We maintain a very long context. We call it the event string. Yeah, and that's like basically how the whole magic happens. It's like we just maintain the whole event string and let the agent system see all the previous context when it predicts the next action. Yeah, so that's kind of like something we did with Manus, and that really just release the true potential. So after we give the hands for Manus, I can always remember, like in this year, January 2nd, that's the first time we have our working prototype. Yeah, that's the first time we get the whole system running, January 2nd. But at that time, we don't know like what task we should assign to Manus. Yeah. So I just go on internet and randomly find a benchmark called Gaia, G-A-I-A benchmark, used for evaluating like agents. And I remember the first task I assigned to Manus actually is a very hard task for agents like 1 year ago, which is in that task, there's a YouTube URL, and it requires the agent to visit the YouTube URL and watch the video. It's a 3 minutes National Geographic video. And the task is to find what's the number of maximum species in that video in a single frame. Because at that time we were using Cloud Sonnet 3.5, and I know Sonnet 3.5 can't handle videos. So I was like, okay, maybe we can't solve this task, but whatever, yeah, I just try. So I just give the task to Manus, and you will say, Manus' first action is to decide to visit that URL. It uses a browser to open the YouTube webpage. And the second thing Manus decides to do is to press the K on keyboard, press K. I don't know, like today in this room, we have like maybe like 30 or 40 people here. Anybody know like what K stands for on YouTube webpage? Anyone knows? Okay, I saw that one. Oh, no. It's pause and play. When you press K, the video will freeze. And when you press K again, it will resume. Yeah. So Manus, because it can't handle videos, so Manus just decides to press K to pause the video and do a screenshot and analyze the screenshot and press K to resume the video and press K again. So Manus just did, I remember, did like maybe like 50 or 60 screenshots about that video. And eventually, found out that the number should be 3. And then, I was shocked because I know the answer. It's 3, yeah. I was shocked. I was like, okay, that's good. That's fantastic. But then, Manus decided to review if the answer is right. Then, because we can see all the reasoning process behind the scene. So we saw that Manus decided to press 3 when it wants to like review the answer. 3. I use YouTube for more than maybe like 14 or 15 years. I never know that I can press a number on the keyboard to make the video jump to the percentage of progress bar. Because like Manus decided to press 3 to jump to the 30% of the progress bar and to check the frame if the number is really 3, and then it delivers the right answer. And I just can't forget that time, on January 2nd, when I first saw like how Manus is trying to solve a problem with different tools, like with the browser, with the keyboard, and with all this like terminal, file system, and writing some Python scripts, writing some different bash scripts, to solve all these tasks. Because even I'm the creator of the product Manus itself, I can't imagine like giving any new task, how Manus will solve this task. Every time, we saw its planning process and the executing process is like magic. So, like back in January and February, these 2 months after we try to tweak the whole system and try to like finalize the user experience. What we believe is that this is something big we want to release to the world. But definitely at that time, we don't know like what exact use cases or maybe like our ideal customer profile will look like. We just think this is something big. We really should release to the world. And we released this thing on March 5th. And we're kind of like defining the general agent category. So after that, we got huge attention from the world. And right now, the business went like super great. Yeah, we just reached our 90 million ARR last month. Yeah, just because we released it on March, and we're starting to charge users in April, which means like in less than 5 months, we reached the 90 million ARR, which is kind of like a great thing. Yeah, that's what we did. And after like 6 months, when we looking back at the whole process of these 6 months, and we are watching like how our users are using Manus, and we are starting to think about like what kind of the things we will build. We built. We kind of have the idea is like Google is like a search engine. It's like a user have a query, and the user come to your product. User just give you the query, and based on the query, search engine will just return some related documents. And the user has to read all these documents or web page by themselves. That's what search engine is doing. And like ChatGPT and maybe like Perplexity, they're kind of like an answer engine, which means you have a question. Maybe it's not a query. Yeah, you don't know the query. You only have the question. And then you will give that question to the like ChatGPT. And ChatGPT will give you return an answer based on your question. But this is just an answer. This is not the final work, not the final work getting done, right? After you get some answer, you have to do the work by yourself. And today, when we're looking at what users are using Manus to do, we kind of have the conclusion that Manus is kind of like the action engine. We're not just focusing on giving you answers, but we're focusing on get your work done, which means today, these slides you are watching now is generated by Manus during the flight, because I fly from Singapore to here last Friday. And on the flight, I ask Manus, I just tell Manus what kind of topic I should talk about today and what the image style I want. And Manus just delivers the whole slides for me. So all the slides you are watching right now is generated by Manus. So you will get the point. It's totally different. We don't just give you answers telling you how to do. We'll get the work done for you. So it's totally different. We think Manus is kind of like the action engine. Yeah. And What Manus is really trying to do, we believe, is that we just democratize the power of AI coding to everyone. That's what we decided, from last November when we first started to do this project last November. Is that we get some inspirations from Cursor, but what we decided is we will not build another coding agent for engineers. We should build something for average users, for consumers, for everyone. That's what kind of things we are trying to do. And by doing that, we think we're really extending the human reach. Just like, after humans we invented cars, we can reach farther places we never can reach. And after we invented electricity, in the night, we will have some more time to work, to have fun, right? And after Manus, that's also we are extending the human reach. And there's a very fun story behind that, because everyone is talking about use our AI product, save your time, right? But what funny facts we found from our users, because we do a lot of user interviews. And what the funny facts we found from that is, in maybe more than half of the user interviews, the users will tell us, after use Manus, they work even more. Why is that? Yeah, just like me, I'm a typical ADHDer, which means I will have a lot of ideas in my head every day. But before Manus, maybe one day or 1 week, these ideas will disappear because I don't have time and the focus to get some progress. But now, whenever I have some ideas, I will just drop it to Manus, and maybe after 10 minutes, or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I will see some real progress. And I say, okay, now I really should take some time into it. So right now, I even work more with Manus too, our users too. That's the meaning of extend human reach. We're not just telling you that, okay, just dedicate all your tasks and work to Manus, and you have nothing to do. No. We think Manus is trying to enhance human, not replace human. That's really important, yeah. So in that future, we were thinking about we are just creating a new tool, maybe like cars you can drive, but not just putting you nowhere. AI is running by itself. No, things it's not like that. Yeah, and that's kind of the whole background story of Manus. And we also want to highlighting some new features in the past 2 months, which is something we're trying to build for the next generation of AI agents. Yeah. One very interesting feature is wide research. It's not deep, it's wide. I chose this name because, I just believe that we don't need to read 20 or 30 long pages articles generated by AI every day, with deep research, right? Sometimes we just want to do some simple jobs, simple research, simple investigations, but on hundreds or thousands of different targets, right? Because sometimes maybe you are sales of some SaaS companies, and you want to figure out, you got a list with 500 companies, and you want to figure out, do we have some opportunities with this company? And you can just simply give this task to Manus. Manus will run all these 500 simple research and investigation concurrently, which means that even you are not an engineer, you can summon 500 virtual machine works for you at the same time. That's really like magic, That's kind of the wide research. And that's also kind of the future we are imagining, is by democratizing the power of AI coding to everyone, we are also democratizing the cloud computing to average user. Because, before this feature, we believe you have to be some professional people. You have to be engineer. And then you can use AWS, right, to rent some virtual machine on AWS and maybe run some regular task or maybe on some task at a scale. But now with Manus, you can just use natural language to do that. So we believe Manus may be the first personal cloud computing product too. Yeah, this is a very interesting feature, and I think it will have huge impact in our future product roadmap. Another thing is we released 3 weeks ago, we called Mail Manus, which is, Right now, you still have to log into our system or use our app to use Manus. But 3 weeks ago, we have a new feature. We call it Mail Manus, which is every Manus user will have an independent Manus bot email address, which means in the future, when you receive some emails, you can just forward that email to your Manus email address, and the Manus will start to work in the background. And after the work is done, he will send the work back to you through email. And in the whole process, you don't have to go back to Manus, but the Manus just works there for you. So that's maybe kind of like a small feature. But imagine in the future, like whatever system you are using, maybe it's email, maybe it's like Lotion, maybe it's like Asana, Monday, Airtable, right? Like you use a lot of different systems in your daily life. But no matter what you're using, even like Slack, Teams, you can always summon Manus by just add us or forward something to us. And the Manus will go there and say, oh, what's the tag, what's the context there, and get the job done for you just in your context. You don't have to, jump back to Manus 2. That's also the future we're dreaming of. It's like we're really building the digital intern, right? It can solve a lot of different tasks in your existing workflow. Yeah, so that's kind of something we're building for the past 2 months and for the next quarter. Yeah, and this is for my today's sharing. Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, bye.